Oh, hello there. It's been a long time since we spoke. You probably last saw me as a PNG avatar of my YouTube icon from like 2018. That's how long it's been, like, so this feels a little long overdue, but hello. I have the need to reintroduce myself again because last time I was a Matt, and now I may be someone else. Aha, get it? No. That's alright. But yeah. I hope everyone's been keeping well since whenever we last spoke. So yeah, I do want to talk about, again, the name change, because for those of you who knew me as Mixmaster Matt, you may have not known why I switched to Mixmay. And then also, returning to mashups, because that's also something else. And then I also want to dabble into one topic of like big importance to me, which is like mental health, because a lot of things have happened over these years, and I feel like personally I do want to make use of this platform to be able to talk about it. My avatar, as you could probably see, could probably stare into the depths of your soul, fellow viewer. It can't, like, based on my like expression, hands or gestures, I can't like switch my avatar like to be happy or angry looking and everything, because MetaQuest controllers stick drift can be pretty tedious, and I'm not in a place right now to replace my stuffs. So I'm gonna just replace the screen with just like games I played, and you can get a gist of what games I've been into and all that, like what I've been up to, I guess. So without further ado, let's get started. So yeah, the name change. Mixmaster Matt was the name I rolled with online since like 2012 when I was on YouTube. And that's when I did all the mashups, like a lot of predominantly Sonic the Hedgehog mashies. And the reason I changed to Mixmay was because during the time, like when I was dealing with high school and my own like inner demons and the ways of life, I never really got the chance to self-discover myself. So eventually, long story short, I realized I was not a Matt anymore, and you can't walk over me anymore. Yeah, and I just decided to roll with May. Actually, if you looked at my Otherworldly Dreams EP that I released back in 2020, the initial name was going to be Mikaela, but then when I jumped onto VRChat, yeah, I decided to just switch to Mixmay. That's a nice ring to it, I personally. So yeah, that's basically the long and short of it. So if you're curious about how I identify, I do believe I'm like non-binary feminine. Even agender, it's still a little complicated. Things have happened that have me kind of challenge myself from the person I thought I would be. So if that makes sense. So yeah, probably I'll dabble a little bit on about it when I talk about mental health, because they are intertwined. Okay, return to mashups. So if anyone's familiar with the story since like way on before, I did drop the mashup channel in early 2018 and at some point deleted it in favor of pursuing music production. And it was a little shaky at first. I mean, you've seen some of the things way back, like demos, Otherworldly Dreams, which looking back at it, I was actually pretty damn proud of. And look back on it this year, I was like, dang, I did some really good boppers. It was only my starting point at like making music, which, you know, was something I've really wanted to do. And fortunately this year, I got back into it. But before 2024 happened, 2023, some miscommunications happened when I tried to get my PC repaired. Long story short, I lost that drive that had all my music works on it, and technically while it was backed up, I really didn't have the motivation to put it onto a new drive, so I was just like, you know what, let's just get back to mashups. And I guess on both fronts, whether you've still seen, you know, the music stuff that I've been doing this year, and also the mashups on the other channel, I just hope you've been liking what you're saying, because yeah, I'd like to think I've changed a lot in terms of what I've been open to in terms of media across all these years, like what I'm playing on the screen right now, even just like my genres, what I've been into, and of course, like thanks to being exposed to VRChat, which it's been a wild experience. And yeah, it's been an experience. I don't want to say much more than that. Yeah, I'm just really glad to be dabbled in a lot of things. So yeah, I hope, again, mashups and music you enjoyed basically the best of both worlds, and if you haven't, or just preferred one over the other, then that's okay. There's no judging to that. Alright, so the last bit that I kind of want to talk about for this video. Mental health. So, this is something that's pretty important to me because I did grow up with a lot of anxiety as a kid and eventually depression in high school. I realized in between some of the things were actually pretty traumatic. And basically, it's the reason that when I'm online here on VR and when I do like get a chance to for like IRL, it's a little complicated over here right now. I always want to try and encourage the same to anyone else just to be kind and compassionate with, everyone around you because it's really rough right now, the state of the world. And, I think with everyone going through a lot of things, the last thing we need to do is kind of be malicious and cruel. Because, whoever might be online, if you throw a slur at them, it might, really set them off. Or, other forms of bigotry. One of them I do want to talk about in another video, which is Fatphobia, Anti-Fatness. I have especially recently on Twitter, X, dabbled and complained a lot about some of the stuff I've not been fond of because, oh boy, it's a whole can of worms, that area. I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but hearing how it's affected me, other people that I've talked to, how it affects, how people live, it's freaking scary. It's, the things I've heard and, how it's really messed up people. It's not okay. So I am hoping in another video I get to talk about my experiences with it. Not every single itty bitty bit, but more like, here are the signs that someone's fatphobic, here are the forms it can take, and here's some of the things I've been through where I've realized that, this is fatphobic, and the people who perpetrated that end up eventually being or are abusive, because one of the things I've picked up recently is that, I wouldn't say recently, but for quite a while, if someone is basically a bigot, then them being abusive isn't that far behind either. And I think it's important that, we as people should pick up the signs, because even if something like fatphobia doesn't affect you as a person, it's still something to keep note of that, if people think that, normalizing this behavior is okay, that, might mean for them that they think they're above the consequences of any other harm they might do. Like, same way in the way of, people think being racist is okay and sexist, transphobic. And I've heard bits and bobs on my time in VRChat, and some of my examples will derive from there too. Not going to give any names at the time, of course, so it's more of a case of, if you know, you know. And if you don't, maybe at the least you might know someone who's been through a similar predicament, maybe elsewhere online, maybe elsewhere in their own part of their personal lives. Because it's inescapable, because it affects family members, friendships, relationships, the relationship with your own body. And I know I'm not going to be a person who's going to be quite suited at talking about this. There's a lot of people who might be a lot better than me, but let me put my piece out there. You don't have to like it, that's fine. But the long and short of it is, if you're called out, do be mindful of how you respond. And even if you just choose not to listen, remember that your actions will always have consequences, whether you intend them to or not. And, I pity you if you think you're a person who believes that you should be allowed to do these horrible things and get away with it. Because just because you can, just because you don't see the consequences, yeah, that's basically the very condensed version of what it might end up being a 20-minute video from what I've been trying to script out, because even doing this video, it was a little scary to kind of talk about, or kind of knowing what I was wanting to say. See, I'm able to move my hands and do all the gestures now because I'm looking at VRChat directly. The script I initially had for this just kind of went out the window, but all things considered, I like to think I got my point across. But TLDR, transitioned from Mixmaster to Mixmay because, identity crisis, I got the time to discover myself. Came back to mashups because, music production stuff go burr, but now I'm doing the best of both worlds. Mental health is really important. Please do not neglect it. And that's the same reason why it ties to, you know, the reference to, you know, addressing fatphobia. You shouldn't be a shitty person. Got it? Yeah. Well, so, yeah. Baby steps, because, you know, I might do more of these videos depending if I want to talk about just anything. I don't want to be like, I don't want to just be like talking about just serious topics. Now, if there's any topics of relevance I want to talk about that might be positive, uplifting, I don't know, I'll be happy to do them. But for now, my battery's depleted for doing this video. I think all things considered, I did a good job. So, I hope wherever you are in the world right now, you have a good rest of your day, night, time zone. Stay safe, make sure you eat enough, drink enough, take meds if any, and yeah, until next time. Yeah, I think all things considered, I did pretty darn good. Yeah, high five me.